Okay, so here we are to install our wood stove heater. I already did the first step, which is just to position the stove on the platform. So you just want to make sure that it's centered onto the flooring. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the two pieces of the chimney as much as I can inside, so it fits on the inside of the sauna. So I'll take this piece. Slide this in. And there you go. So now I'll be able to position it on top of the heater. Make sure that it's in right. Okay, so now that this is positioned onto the stove, you take your level and make sure that it's leveled on both sides. Here we're gonna push a little bit. And so ideally you'd have a second person holding the level, and you lift it all the way up to the ceiling. And while it's up in the ceiling, you take your pencil and you'll mark in the front, in the back, and on both sides the extremity of your chimney. Once that's done, you can remove the chimney. Go. Take it out. So you'll have your 4 lines that are positioned here, and then you just take the center of both of your lines and you mark it on your sauna. So you'll take the 2 lines here, mark the center. So you get my center here. Boop. Center there. Mark it there. And then you have the center of your chimney. And now you can drill a hole so you can see on the top of the sauna where the center is, because I'll be drilling the hole from the top of the sauna. And I'll just pierce a hole right down the middle. You want to make sure it goes all the way through. And the next step will be coming from the top of the sauna, and you can either bring the chimney to the top or measure the circumference of the chimney and mark your circle and cut it through from the top. So now that we we drilled our hole at the center of our chimney, we're going to have to trace the whole chimney. So I know that my chimney is 10 inches in diameter, and I took one of the rings that's going to tighten it up just to use as a guide. So you take your hole. So I'm going to want to trace the extremities of my circle. So I take half of my 10 inches, which is 5. I'll take my pen. So I just take my tape. So I'll place 5" right in the center of my hole. And I'll mark at the end of my tape, and I'll mark at 10 inch. And I'll do the same thing in the opposite direction. So on the other side, I have my 5" in the middle, I mark my 0, and I mark my 10 inch. So there's different methods to draw a perfect circle, but I found for this, the best way I have is just take the metal ring that they give you, and I'll just place it on my 4 lines. So I got my 4 lines. So here we have your center, and I got my 4 lines that I just traced. And I'll just use this as a reference, placing them on the 4 lines and just marking out my perfect circle. Obviously, we just traced the circle the exact same width of your chimney. So you're going to cut just a little bit bigger, because otherwise it's going to be too much of a hassle to make it fit. So what I usually do is I cut just on the outside of my circle as I'm cutting through. I trace my circle at 10 inch, but our chimney is also 10 inch. So obviously if you cut it perfectly on the line, your chimney won't fit. So you want to cut it just a little bit bigger, maybe 1/8, 1/4 of an inch over the line, just to make sure that it fits. And anyway, there's going to be a cover at the end, plus your shingles that's going to hide everything. For me, what I'm going to use is a jigsaw to cut this hole. If they make 10-inch hole saws, that would be a great too, but I don't have a 10-inch hole saw, so I'm gonna use my jigsaw. So in order to do so, I'm gonna drill a hole on the outside of the circle, which will allow me to put my jigsaw, and cut all the way around my lines. It might happen that at some point you're having issues to cut the corners or to turn, and then you can drill other holes to give you new starts for your jigsaw. But we'll start with one hole, and if we need more, we'll do it later. And ideally, before cutting the circle, remove the heater from inside the sauna, because it does do a lot of dust and wood chips, and you don't want that falling into your heater. So now we're done drilling, so we can pop these pieces out. There we go. And now we'll be able to go back from inside and pull our chimney. Actually, you can either drop it in or pop it out from the bottom, whichever is easier for you, but obviously this is a two-man job, and that'll be the next step. So we're back inside. The hole is made. We placed the chimney attached to the wood stove, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift this up through the hole and extend the two, well, try to separate the two pieces. And I'm gonna go on top of the sauna and position it at the right height that we want it, while he's gonna be inside and he'll attach this collar with this bolt onto the junctions of the two, which will hold the chimney at that height. And then we can go keep doing the other steps on top of the sauna. So the next step is to install this silicone piece, which is gonna go over top of the chimney. So we're gonna have to cut it to size. There's two methods that we've been doing this. You can either use a blade and cut along the rim and then squeeze it in, or you can just use some scissors and do like four cuts and then slide it down. And once that's done, we'll be able to use this metal piece and tighten it up so it's nice and tight against our chimney. Let's go. So I placed it on, but we're not gonna screw it in right away, because what we wanna do is we're gonna place the shingles all the way and have the shingles come underneath. So when we screw it in, if ever there's water that comes down, it'll dripple onto the shingles and it won't go underneath. But for now we can leave it there, we'll do the shingles and then we'll come back and screw it into the sauna. Okay, so we're back up top, the shingle's installed. So now we're gonna screw this into the top of the sauna. Now that that's on, we can attach this, which will make sure that there's no water infiltration. So you don't want it too tight, because otherwise it might rip the silicone, but you want it tight enough so there's no water that can come through. One last little bit, and that should be good. Okay, now we can attach this piece here. Make sure it's well on there, and we will secure it with this here. And finally, we add the final section, which we'll secure with this piece. The same process as the one right before. So you can tighten it up just a little bit, pivot it to the back, and then finish tightening in the back so you don't see anything. Okay. And there you have it.